You know, there's this famous puzzle from World War II that I absolutely love. It's a story about warplanes, a brilliant mathematician, and a really powerful flaw in our thinking that, honestly, affects us every single day. Let's get into it.
All right, so here's the problem the military was up against. This diagram shows where their bombers were getting hit by enemy fire. All those red dots, those are bullet holes. But here's the crucial part. This data was only collected from the planes that actually made it back to base.
So, I've got a question for you. Just looking at this chart, your first instinct is probably to add armor where the red dots are thickest, right? I mean, it seems like a no-brainer. That's certainly what the military thought too.
Okay, let's set the scene. The year is 1943. American bombers are taking heavy losses over Germany. The stakes could not have been higher. The military had to figure out a way to protect these planes and their crews, and they had to do it like yesterday.
The solution seemed pretty obvious. Just add more armor. But, well, there was a huge trade-off. Armor is incredibly heavy. If you add too much, the plane gets sluggish, it burns way more fuel, and ironically, it becomes an even easier target. So the real question wasn't if they should add armor, but precisely where it would make the biggest difference.
And this is where our main character enters the picture, a man named Abraham Wald. Wald was this brilliant Jewish mathematician who had escaped Austria and come to the United States. During the war, he was working with the Statistical Research Group at Columbia University. Think of it as a kind of think tank of absolute geniuses tasked with solving the military's toughest statistical problems.
Now, the way this story usually gets told is pure Hollywood. You know, the lone genius up against the clueless military establishment. The internet loves this version of the tale because it's this perfect aha moment that changed everything.
So the legend goes that Wald looked at that exact same chart of the returning planes and basically said, hold on, not so fast. His conclusion was completely upside down from what everyone else was thinking. He told the military to ignore the red dots. The real insight was that the data showed where a plane could get hit and still survive to fly another day. The real weak spots were the places with no dots at all.
It's an amazing story, a fantastic story. But is it actually true? Well, like a lot of great legends, the real story is a bit more complicated and, frankly, even more interesting. So let's look at what really happened.
You see, the American Mathematical Society actually calls the popular story a plausible reconstruction. That whole dramatic showdown between the math nerd and the generals, yeah, there's not a lot of evidence that it went down quite like that. Wald's actual work wasn't some snappy one-liner he delivered in a meeting. It was laid out in these incredibly dense, technical memos. He didn't give commands, his group provided the calculations and the math. The reality wasn't some sudden flash of insight, but a deep, rigorous statistical dive into a really complex problem with a ton of missing data.
And that right there brings us to the absolute core lesson of this entire story. It's not really about bullet holes on a plane. It's about the power and the danger of missing data. And this idea, it has a name. It's called survivorship bias. It's this tricky logical error we all make, where we base our decisions only on the success stories, the survivors, because the failures are totally invisible to us. The planes that got shot down never made it back to be part of the data set. So check this out. This table is a glimpse of the data Wald was actually working with. He knew exactly how many planes came back with 1 hit, 2 hits, and so on. But just look at that column for the lost planes. It's just a big pile of question marks. The most important data was completely missing.
So here's the really crucial point. Wald's genius wasn't just a clever observation like, hey, look at the empty spots. No, his real genius was using advanced mathematics to build a statistical model that could actually estimate the data for the planes that didn't come back. He was, in a way, making the dead speak through statistics. But this wasn't just some old wartime puzzle. Survivorship bias is absolutely everywhere, especially now in our super data-driven world. Let's take a look at how it pops up in our lives today. As this research paper notes, the data we tend to collect is almost always made up of positive examples, the successes, the survivors, the things that worked, and that creates this huge blind spot in our analysis. I mean, think about it. We study the secrets of billionaire entrepreneurs, but completely ignore the thousands who tried the exact same things and failed. We analyze the winning stock picks from some guru, but forget about all their bad calls. This bias even messes up how we train AI, because we often feed it data that's skewed towards what succeeded, not what failed. In a field like cybersecurity, this is absolutely critical.
An analyst might spend all their time studying the logs of successful network traffic, but the real story, the most important information, is in the traffic that was blocked or the cyber attacks that failed to connect. Those are today's missing bullet holes. So the lesson from Abraham Wald's work is more relevant today than ever before. If we only rely on the data that's right in front of us, without actively stopping to ask, what am I not seeing? Well, our conclusions are going to be dangerously incomplete.
So the next time you're trying to solve a problem, just ask yourself, what am I not seeing? What information is missing from this picture? What are the failures that never made it back to tell their side of the story? Finding those missing bullet holes might just be the key to solving your biggest puzzles.